Hello everyone. In this tutorial video, we will go over the most important features of QGage, Wilsoft software for controlling measurement instruments and tools. QGage allows you to perform calibrations and conduct measurement system analysis studies. What we are looking at now is the system login. Type username and password. I will log in with the admin user, which has all the permissions, so you can see all the system's functionalities. So, here we are logging in. The first thing that appears are the pending tasks for the user. These include calibration reminders, measurement system analysis studies, and scheduled events such as adjustments, maintenance, verifications, etc. Everything can be managed through events, and we'll look into that later. It also shows expired or soon to expire standards that need to be sent for calibration, as well as study approvals. Studies will go through an approval process. We'll close the reminder now, and this is the main screen of the system, where on the left side, we have the groups or folders of instruments, and on the right side, you can see the instruments that belong to the selected group. As you see, this screen is very similar to Windows Explorer. You can create any number of folders, and within those folders, you can generate subfolders at any level of depth. How do you create a subfolder? For example, in this group, I right-click, then click on New. I type the name of the group or folder. I enter a description that indicates which instruments will be in that group. And I type a prefix that will be used to automatically generate codes for the instruments created in the folder. The field will be used to send notifications to the person responsible for the area when notifications related to the instruments in that group are triggered. For example, when an instrument's calibration date is approaching or when a standard is about to expire. Therefore, the system will send notifications both to the instrument manager and to the email address entered in this field. In the Permissions tab, you set the permissions that users, or more accurately, the roles, will have within the group. Each user has a role, and permissions are assigned based on roles. You can create as many roles as needed. The system is very flexible. Users are assigned a role specifically for this functionality, so that not everyone can access all the folders, only those with the read permission. For example, here the metrologist has the read permission, but perhaps I'll remove the read permission from engineering, which allows viewing the instrument information in the folder. Users without read permission in a group won't be able to see the instruments in that group or be aware of anything happening with those instruments. If they request a report, it will only display information on the instruments for which they have read permission. Then, there's the edit permission, which allows users to modify the information of the instruments. The permission allows users to remove instruments from the group. For example, if this metrologist user has the delete permission, they can go to the main view, right-click on an instrument in the group, click on delete, and remove the instrument. Right now, I am doing this with the admin user, who has all permissions in all groups, but each user would perform actions according to their permissions. The most important thing is that when an instrument is deleted, as in this case, it moves to the deleted instruments group, where only users with the admin role can access. From there, they can either recover the instrument or delete it permanently. To permanently delete it, you simply right-click, then click Delete, and the instrument is removed. When an instrument is deleted from this Deleted Instruments folder, it cannot be recovered. So, you need to be cautious when deleting from this folder. It works similarly to the Windows recycle bin. When you delete a file, it goes to the recycle bin, and once it's deleted from the bin, it can no longer be recovered. It's a similar functionality. If you want to recover the instrument, you should right-click, then click on Properties, and select the group or folder where you want to place it. For example, if we place it in this group, we save, close the view, and then search for the group, you'll see that the instrument is now there. Let's another permission. The Approve permission. This allows the user to approve a study, whether it's an RANDAR study, a bias study, a linearity study, or a calibration. If no one is assigned this permission, the admin user can approve the studies. The final permission, the group permission, allows the user to manage the group. This means they can create subgroups, assign permissions to users, and modify the information in the General tab. This is how the information is organized in the system. It's structured through these groups with permissions so that not all users see all the information. For example, if I have instruments in a metrology lab and other instruments in a specific production line, I can set it up so that only the metrology lab personnel see the lab's instruments, and the employees from the production line only see the instruments for that line. Now take a look at the properties of an instrument. Here on the main screen, I click on the instrument and then right-click. A contextual menu appears with options for what I can do with the instrument. I click on Properties, and the instrument's properties view is displayed. In the General tab, the code is shown. This code can either be automatically generated based on the prefix of the group where the instrument is located, or it can be manually modified. Alright, on the right side, we can select the type of instrument from a list. Later on, we will see where this list is defined. Next, we have the description field, which provides more information about the instrument. We also have fields for the brand, model, and catalog. This catalog field is used as a reference to the supplier's catalog. Here, I can enter a key so that if the instrument gets damaged, I can quickly request it from the supplier using that key. Then we have the serial number, the supplier who sold us the instrument, and the location, which indicates where the instrument is physically located. Here, I can mark whether the instrument is in its place or not. In the comments field, you can enter any free text as needed. The group indicates the folder the instrument belongs to. The responsible person is important because the user registered here will receive alerts whenever the instrument needs to be calibrated, undergo a study, or has an event scheduled according to the plan. This person plays a crucial role, as they will receive all the notifications regarding the pending tasks related to the instrument. Next, we have the calibration status field, which indicates whether the instrument is calibrated or not calibrated. For tools that are not calibrated, there is a third option, not calibrated. If an instrument is marked as not calibrated, when generating a calibration plan report, these instruments will not appear. Only those in one of the other two statuses, calibrated or not calibrated, will be included in the report. So, in the procedure field, you can register the code of the procedure used to calibrate the instrument, and the calibrated with field is used in case this instrument is calibrated with another instrument of higher precision. By clicking Save, any changes made in the General tab of the properties will be saved. In the tab, you register the calibration schedules, measurement system analysis studies, and other events related to the instrument. Everything that will be done to the instrument is planned in this view. Let's take a look, for example, at this calibration schedule. The activity is calibration. Here, you type the time interval, for instance, 180, and then you select the unit of time, days, weeks, months, or years. Let's set it to 180 days. In the last field, you select the date when the last calibration was performed, and the system calculates when the next calibration is due. From this point on, every time a calibration is registered, the system automatically updates the date for the next calibration. Let's add an event. Click on Add. Select Event in the Activity field. The Event Type field is enabled, and we select Maintenance. We'll set it to occur every 6 months, and let's say the last time it was done was in August. This way, we can schedule events, studies, and calibrations. The system will update the dates every time one of the planned tasks is completed. In the Documents tab, you can upload any file that serves as additional documentation for the instrument. What can you upload? For example, the operation manual, external calibration certificates, or any other relevant document. You can upload any file type, images, PDFs, or any other format. In the tab, information is recorded in the custom fields created during the configuration process. This is useful if you want to add more information to the system. Here, we have some examples. Later on, we'll see how custom fields are created and deleted. Up to this point, we've covered how to manage the information for the instruments.
All right, get ready to dive deep, because today we're tackling metrology.
Metrology.
Yeah, the science behind measurement.
Got it.
But don't worry, we'll make it fun.
Not just a bunch of dry equations.
Nope. We're looking at QGage today.
QGage. Interesting.
Yeah, the software, kind of like a high-tech toolbox, making sure your instruments are giving you the right readings and all.
Because accurate measurements, they're the unsung heroes in so many fields, right?
Right. From building a bridge to baking a cake, precision is key.
Exactly. Without it, things could get messy.
Total chaos, I'd imagine. So this QGage thing, it's got to be the answer to a metrologist's prayers, right?
You could say that.
User-friendly, they say.
Oh, yeah, very intuitive.
Like, I'm picturing something familiar, like Windows Explorer, you know.
You're on the right track.
So let's say I'm logging into QGage for the first time. What jumps out?
First thing you'll notice, probably the pending tasks list.
Okay, keep me organized. I like it.
Exactly. It's all about staying on top of things, reminding you about calibrations, approvals, all that good stuff.
No more sticky notes everywhere. But wait, it tells you about instruments needing maintenance too? I thought it was just about calibration.
It's the whole package. QGage is all about the entire life cycle of an instrument, making sure it stays accurate over time, not just a one-time check.
Okay, now we're talking. But hold on. What if you've got tons of instruments, like a whole arsenal? How do you keep track?
Folders, my friend.
Like on my computer.
Exactly. Organize your pressure gauges, your microscopes, your calipers. Everything has its place.
That's oddly satisfying, like organizing a messy drawer, but for instruments.
Exactly.
But what if, in a moment of organizational zeal, I delete something? Game over.
Don't worry, QGage has you covered.
Oh yeah, how so?
There's a deleted instruments section. Think of it like your computer's recycle bin.
Woo, crisis averted. But, okay, let's say I'm working with a whole team of people. Now, things could get dicey, right? Everyone poking around in the instrument database.
That's where permissions come in.
Permissions. So, not everyone gets to be a QGage VIP.
You got it. It's about data security, making sure the right people have access to the right information.
Okay, gotta love a good permissions hierarchy. But let's dive into the instruments themselves. What kind of info can I store in QGage for each one?
Oh, get ready for a deep dive. It's not just the basics like brand or model number, though you've got those too, of course.
So what, it's like a full background check for every thermometer and caliper?
Pretty much. Location, who's responsible for it, even the exact calibration procedure. QGage loves detail.
Details. But seriously, who needs that much info about a simple thermometer?
You'd be surprised. Let's say a thermometer in your lab's acting up, giving weird readings. With QGage, you can pull up its whole history.
Like a rap sheet, but for a thermometer.
Exactly. Was it calibrated right?
Yep.
Need some special care. It's all there.
Okay, starting to see how that'd be useful. Speaking of details, the source material mentions a catalog field. Sounds random.
Random. That field's a lifesaver. Say you need a new part, or a whole new instrument even. Boom. Supplier's catalog, right there in QGage.
No more digging through file cabinets. Okay, I'm sold. What about comments? That's got to be good for a few laughs. We're like, this thing's possessed.
Well, you could, but hopefully it's more like, this instrument needs that special cleaning solution, or remember it's got that weird quirk, those little details you don't want to forget.
Like digital sticky notes, but better. Out of all these fields, though, which one's the MVP? The one you got to get right.
Responsible person, hands down.
Oh, so we do know who to blame when something goes wrong.
It's about accountability, making sure someone's in charge of that instrument's well-being. Calibration's on time, maintenance happens.
Like a designated driver for lab equipment. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's talk calibration itself. QGage marks things calibrated or not calibrated, straightforward enough. What else is there?
You'd think so, right? But QGage takes it up a notch.
A notch? How so?
There's a third option. Another not calibrated.
Hold up, now you're messing with me. 2 not calibrateds. That's asking for trouble.
No, hear me out. It's clever, I promise. See, the first not calibrated, that's for instruments that need calibration but haven't gotten it yet.
Okay, so like overdue for a checkup.
Right. Then you've got the second not calibrated. This is for instruments that are intentionally off the calibration grid.
So maybe it's only used for rough estimates, or it's just not designed to be calibrated in the first place.
You got it. Contest is key, right? And QGage gets that. Which brings us to one of its most powerful features, the Planning tab.
Planning. We had talking color-coded calendars, the whole shebang. I'm intrigued.
Color-coded calendars, you say? QGage might just make your organizational dreams come true. It's all about staying ahead of the game.
Okay, spill the beans. How does it work?
Remember those pending tasks? Think of the Planning tab as the mastermind behind them. You set up reminders for calibrations.
Automatic reminders. No more relying on my questionable memory.
You got it. And get this, once you record a calibration, it automatically updates the next due date.
Whoa, hold on. It does what now? That's some serious automation. But what about other stuff? Like, what if an instrument needs a deep clean, not just a calibration?
QGage can handle it. Maintenance checks, verifications, even those weird specific tasks that only your lab does.
So it's not just about calibration, it's about keeping these instruments in tip-top shape throughout their careers. I like it.
But wait, there's those documents and custom tabs we haven't talked about. Those sound intriguing.
Ah, yes. QGage really goes the extra mile. Documents is like your digital filing cabinet.
Okay, I can get behind a good digital filing cabinet. My desk is overrun with paper as we speak.
Calibration certificates, manuals, even those hand-drawn diagrams, only the original scientist understands. It's all there, safe and sound, linked to the right instrument.
No more frantic searches through dusty file drawers. I'm sold. And custom. That's where things get really interesting. Custom is all about flexibility. Need to track something unique to your work. Create a custom field. Special identifier that matches your lab system. Go for it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked folders, permissions, instrument deep dives, and even strategic planning. But let's bring it back to earth for a second. For someone who's maybe new to all this, what's the big takeaway? Why should they care about a system like QGage?
Think of it this way. We live in a world swimming in data, right? And accurate measurements, they're the foundation of it all.
Can't argue with that.
QGage isn't about checking boxes or jumping through hoops. It's about making sure the data you're relying on is solid.
So you can make decisions with confidence knowing your instruments aren't leading you astray.
Exactly. And you can say goodbye to those spreadsheet nightmares and last-minute calibration panics.
Peace of mind, knowing your instruments are in good hands, or rather good software.
Now here's something to think about. What happens if you don't have a system like QGage in place?
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Even a small measurement error can snowball into a big problem. Product quality, research findings, even safety protocols. It can all be compromised.
A sobering thought for sure. Big thanks to our expert for this deep dive into QGage. It's clearly more than just a software, it's a guardian of good data. And on that note, we'll be back next time with another deep dive into a topic you're curious about. Until then, keep exploring.